combat has begun.
I was born ready for humiliation.
Not so bad, it actually hurts my feelings. How about you, Gabby?
Oh, that is awful. Oh, my God. 70% of the earth is made up of that?
Look, Joe, it's not just that you became the biggest broadcaster in America. Actually, yes, it is. That's it.
Welcome to Paley Front Row, presented by Citi. I'm Alan Sepinwall, Chief Television Critic for Rolling Stone. The Paley Center for Media has always celebrated excellence in television, and now, for the first time ever, that celebration is happening online. Today, we'll be discussing the hilarious and strangely prescient final season of Brockmire on IFC. Brockmire has taken a startling turn in its fourth and final season, creating a fictional world very much like our own today, including making Jim Brockmire himself the commissioner of baseball. There's so much to talk about with our guests. Please welcome the stars of Brockmire, Hank Azaria and Amanda Peet.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for coming on, guys. This is a new thing for the Paley Center. I've done a lot of these in person before. Hank, I know you have. This is a bit of a change for you.
Yes, as is everything these days. Although I'm thinking of just conducting all business like this from now on. Whenever, as soon as the world returns to normal, I'm still just going to be Zooming myself everywhere. I mean, 2 months ago, I didn't even know that Zoom existed, and now it's all I do.
Well, I imagine if nothing else, you can do voice work from home. Like that part hasn't been as affected as much, right?
Look, here's the microphone they sent me, so I can do just that.
So you can make a living, dear.
Exactly. I can make an honest buck.
Talk a little bit about your relationship with the Paley Center and what role you feel it plays in the industry.
You know, as someone who grew up in front of the television, who then got lucky enough to make his way inside the television, TV means a lot to me personally. And, you know, I don't think of it as the history of TV. I just think of it as, you know, stuff I watched growing up and then continued to watch and then happily got to make. But the fact that there's, you know, a whole beautiful society, archive, buildings devoted to keeping track of all this.
The reason for this tribute should be obvious.
It really does mean a lot to me. I know it has a special place in everybody's hearts who work in the medium. Then, you know, it started out just as a place where you can, you know, find what you needed from archives, and it remains that, but it's become the center of a lot of really meaningful events as well. Like I attended a Robin Williams tribute there not too long ago in New York, and some great screenings. And so it's really like I think one of our Brockmire evenings was there in New York as well, I believe. It's nice that TV has its own devoted, beautiful, historical mecca like that. It means a lot.
One of the great things about this final season, but also one of the strange things about this final season, is it's taking place in the 2030s in this sort of near dystopian future in which, you know, the climate has ravaged the country, everything is going badly, and yet there is still kind of baseball, and it's playing out at a time when we're in a present-day dystopia. So how strange has that been for you guys to be experiencing these two things simultaneously?
I want to let Amanda answer first because I always monopolize these conversations, and I want Amanda to say things. So, Amanda,
I liked the way you are, Hank.
You
are Brockmire.
My chatty self, but you go.
It just made me think that Joel Church Cooper is very smart and followed closely behind by Hank. Because just because of the kind of simmering dystopian, what's the right word? Atmosphere in the season that wasn't there before in the other seasons.
You know what? I don't have to explain myself to you, Lamone.
You're right. I'm sorry. Now please, have some eggs.
I don't want any eggs, but I'd love to know how you made the damn eggs.
I always liked his sense of nostalgia for baseball, his sense of his sort of the idea that baseball is part of Americana, kind of, and he went really far this time with the sadness, you know, how far we've come from it and the values it instilled in Americans.
Yeah, you know, baseball's always been a metaphor in our show, for America. as embodied by Brockmire. And he projected it into the future as a way to, I'll be translating for what Miss Peet meant. What Miss Peet meant to say. So he always meant to end the series pretty much the way it ended. He had mapped out all 4 seasons in advance, but throwing it into the future was kind of a new wrinkle he came up with a year ago, because he thought it could even more point up where he felt society was going by throwing it into the future a bit. He didn't plan on being quite as psychic as he turned out being.
I mean, I almost look at these episodes as oddly hopeful, because people are still gathering in public and there is still some degree of baseball, even if nobody's been paying attention to it.
Yeah, especially compared to how there's more baseball in the dystopian weird world where baseball is just limping along and pretty much replaced by cricket. There's more baseball in that horrible future than in our current present as opposed to our past present.
I like it, Hank. I like it.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of baseball, I believe we have a video for you guys to take a look at.
All right. So like Final Jeopardy?
Now, you think I'm the kind of guy who likes to say, I told you so, but that's not true. I love to say it.
Jim Brockmire being honored at the Paley Center.
Oh.
This is an upset that makes the '69 Mets look like child's play.
Jimmy Brockmire. A lot of great memories.
Congratulations to the legendary Jim Brockmire.
Jim Brockmire, you irascible son of a...
Joe Buck, it's nothing personal, all right? I just happen to hate your stupid face.
You were a groomsman at my wedding.
You've done what every one of us have thought about doing. Sitting in a booth, absolutely making fun of everyone and everything that's going on.
Folks, if you are feeling the breeze out there in left field, that is coming from the bat of John Elton, who has struck out swinging 3 times today.
Hey, shut up!
Hey, you shut up.
I gotta hand it to you, Brockmire. Are they honoring Scully today? Are they honoring Michaels? Are they honoring me? No, they are not.
Remember the time I was down on 53rd Street in New York and you had somebody slash my tire so that I wouldn't get to the stadium in time?
Jim, that's not true.
Shut up, it feels true.
Now you start a new one as the commissioner of baseball. My God, what are we thinking?
You're either the best thing or the worst thing to ever happen to baseball.
You know, I've always wanted to have a voice like Brockmire. I can't say I've always wanted to have a sports jacket like Brockmire.
You've always been a good friend, yet you really haven't always been a good friend.
But look, I'm not here to talk about the deceased. Jimmy Brockmire, rest in peace.
Jim's still alive, shockingly. Still alive.
How is he still alive?
If I have to entertain people today, I'm gonna walk over to that bar, grab an ice pick, and shove it right into my head.
Merba, put the supper on the stove, my dear, because this game is over.
Brockmire.
Woohoo!
I'm going to cry. I'm genuinely surprised by that. That was really beautiful. It was like the happiest moment of my life, I think. Except and the day that we found out Amanda agreed to do the show. Those two.
Oh, Hank.
I love Eduardo Perez going all Arnold Schwarzenegger from his hot tub there. That's strong. That's a big flex by Eduardo.
He's living a good life.
Yeah.
In general, in your travels, because you've done like guest spots in other announcers' booths to promote the show. Like, do baseball people like Brockmire?
In general, yeah. I think you see the actual the warmth and enthusiasm that came through from those guys. A lot of them have been on the show and have always said yes when we need to promote it. Like, come on their show either as myself or Brockmire. Yeah, baseball people really do love the show. And Carl Ravitch wasn't kidding, I don't think, that they love it's a fantasy come true for them to actually speak their minds from the booth like that and just curse and talk about how awful and ridiculous everything is.
When you had to come up with this voice way back when you first did the Funny or Die short, was there anyone in particular you were modeling it on? Like, what did you have in your head about how you wanted Jim to sound?
No, Bob Costas, who you saw there briefly, he actually called this voice what I called it in my head, which was weird. I referred to it in my mind, really, because no one would talk to me about it, the generic baseball announcer voice of the 1970s. And when I first met Bob, he said, how did you get this down, this generic baseball announcer voice from the 1970s? I'm like, Bob, that's exactly what that is. And that is what it is. It's sort of it's unique in its non-uniqueness. It's completely vanilla. It seemed like every, middle of the road announcer kind of talked this way in the 1970s if I tuned into a sports broadcast. And so that's what I just wondered if guys like that always sounded like that. And that pretty much was the premise of the show.
Now, Amanda, I know a lot of the time when I talk to co-stars on long-running shows, they at a certain point develop impressions of one another. Do you do a Brockmire voice yourself?
No. I mean, I just can't. And I'm not the worst mimic either, but I can't. I can't do it.
She can too.
I can't.
Yeah, she tries it all the time. She's just embarrassed to do it in front of me right now, or you, or somebody, or both of us. Come on, you can do it. If I keep talking this way, you'll do it. Come on, Amanda Peet, young right-hander from Columbia University. Come on. Nah, I'm not gonna do it. No takers.
We tried. We really did. In general, is this a show that's like where you find yourselves breaking character more or less than on other jobs?
Well,
breaking character, you mean like cracking? I'm sorry, Amanda. Go ahead. I always talk.
No.
Please.
Well, I always talk about the same scene, which is the scene where we're knocking boots while he's doing the 70s generic announcer voice. It's just not, I'm not that good.
There's a line in this season. We get like a little bit of a flashback to how Brockmire met his daughter's mother at the bar in the Philippines, and he starts talking about Jerry Orbach, and he realizes like he has to explain who Jerry Orbach is.
I won Celebrity Jeopardy blackout drunk. I kicked Jerry Orbach's. Oh yeah, I should have realized Jerry Orbach wouldn't translate. Imagine if a loaf of rye bread came to life and started arresting everybody.
My shift's over. Sorry.
All right. Bye, baseball.
I would never think to do it myself, but the way that you put the emphasis on the words, like it's a really funny line to begin with, but how you sort of choose to do the syncopation of it really cracks me up every time I've seen it. Like when you get the dialogue, how do you sort of figure that part of it out, the vocalizing of it?
I don't. I mean, I just, I spent most of my
rolls out of bed and it's that good.
It just comes. It's like, some people like Amanda Peet roll out of bed beautiful. I roll out of bed funny. Some people roll out of bed funny and beautiful like Amanda Peet. But anyway.
I was going to say, you hang.
Yeah, I saved it there. Kick save and a beauty, Jim Brockmire. I spent most of my career figuring out a vocal cadence and then applying that to a character. And so that's what happened here. And then that's just a happy accident that line and others come out funny in this way. But that's partly what I thought would be fun is like I really do that. Like certain voices you hit on and go, oh, not only does that sound funny, but it's got sort of a rich emotional life in there somehow too. And then if you're lucky enough to hook up with a great writer like Joel Church Cooper, you go from there. So I didn't I don't like try to work out a cadence or a stress. It just kind of way. And that was like drunk Brockmire. So you never know how that's going to come out.
Now, one of the things I really like about the show is it's very easy to imagine a version of it where Jules is basically the one trying to get Jim to sober up, trying to get him to sort of live right. And if anything, she is more dysfunctional than he is. And by the time we get to this final season, he's been on the wagon for a decade and she is still, boozing and coking and doing everything else that's terrible.
Hey.
Gents. You can't expect me to stay sober in a place this depressing.
How much fun has that been for you to play over these seasons?
Yeah, I thought it was really fun that Joel decided to not have her have some kind of, wellness turnaround or it seemed more fitting with her character and more fitting with Brockmire, that there isn't just some sort of like, you know, redemptive sobering of Jules. And I really respected that and thought that that was true to form, both for the show and for the character of Jules.
Do each of you have a favorite thing that the other has done on the show?
Oh man. I mean, my favorite episode, I think, of all of them is season 1. I think it's like the 6th episode when Brockmire snorts her abortion pill by accident.
Oh yeah.
And written by the great Amanda Sitko, is one of my favorite. She often writes my favorite episodes. Amanda really worked on her like gagging take, like when she couldn't swallow a pill. I know it's kind of broad comedy in a show that features a lot of verbal gymnastics, a lot of emotion, but man, every time. And that was another one of those times where I kept getting concerned that she was actually joking. That's how believable that was. Like, ooh, I almost broke character like 6 times. Like, you all right? You all right? Yeah, that really made me laugh.
Now, on the one hand, this is a really ridiculous show in which Jim and Jules say and do all of these just awful and ridiculous things. And on the other hand, it can be very dark and sincere and heartfelt. There's a moment in the episode, the next to last episode of the show that just aired a couple days ago, between the two of you, where you're standing on a conference room table, where I admit I got choked up watching it. When you're having to play that shift from the ludicrous to the sublime, is that a hard thing to do, or it's just a case of the writing takes you where and you're still playing the character the way you've always played them?
I try to just not think about whether it's supposed to be funny. That's what I So I don't I don't go back and forth in between any kind of states or anything like that. And in fact, when Hank and I always talk about this too, like when I was, right before I agreed to do the show, I called him and I was like, we're going to be real, right? We're going to be like real people. And he was like, yes, Amanda.
Well, it's a fair question. And that's why we wanted Amanda to do this, because, you know, I mean, from the outside, I guess you could describe it as a seamless transition between comedy and drama, but, you know, it's what she said. She commits fully to either and just to the reality of the thing, emotional and otherwise, which is what you always want in an actor. And especially in this, and it was a fair question about the tone, because, you know, Brockmire talks like this and it's kind of weird. And he talks like a baseball announcer in real life, which is a little bit of a heightened reality. And we noticed that in the short that it was based on, I thought it would be a good character for broad comedy. But actually, we found out that the more real the situation was and the more real the people were around him, and the more like emotionally real his wife cheating on him was, the funnier it all got. You need really strong actors around to sell the believability of Brockmire. The way they react to him and treat him as if he's real is a big part of the show.
We're just about out of time, but Hank, starting with the Funny or Die short, you've been playing this character for quite a while now. How has it been saying goodbye to Jim? Because this is one of the best roles I think you've ever played.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite. So I'm sort of sad it's ending, but, you know, it's really hard work. And we really did it. You know, how many times can you say you did exactly what you wanted to do? Actually, you exceeded what you wanted to do. And we told the story we wanted to tell. I had sort of an idea for a bonus track 5th season of revisiting Brockmire's lost years, like through Southeast Asia, which maybe we'll get around to someday. But I think the character kind of lives. Like I do all these appearances on sports shows with a lot of the guys you saw earlier. And I think we might be starting a Brockmire podcast where he kind of does sports topics of the week.
Wow.
And interviews a lot of the guys you saw there, kind of has them as a co-host each week. So I'm sure it'll find some way to live on.
Well, that would be great, because I really, really did love the show, and it's been such a pleasure talking with you guys about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan. You've been a tremendous supporter of the show, and really, really much appreciated. Thank you so much.